Well, on online education, I have a very different take from all of you, which is that I believe that it's a blessing in disguise. Why it is a blessing in disguise? Because online education did not start yesterday. It's almost 20 years since online education has become acceptable in the world. In fact, it was a Bangladeshi gentleman who was teaching his niece mathematics from New York is the beginning of online education in the present form. His name is Salman Khan. He is not the film actor Salman Khan, but another Salman Khan. And his niece living in Bangladesh told him, "Uncle, you teach so much mathematics to your students at the Harvard University. Why don't you teach me?" And he started teaching her every week. And then he asked himself, why am I only teaching one person? Technology has developed enough to have 100 children, 200 children, or 2,000 children. And that gave birth to what is called the Khan Academy. Even today, it is one of the biggest platforms for online education. And from there, they developed what is called massive open online courses, MOOCs, as they are called. And this had become so popular because those courses, MOOCs courses, provide education from the best universities in the United States and UK and other places, online, free of charge. Harvard graduate education, which costs $35,000 for an American child. You can have the same education and same degree sitting in your home. But how many of us made use of it? As the vice chairman of the Higher Education Council, as soon as I took over in 2011, I organized a all global seminar, not the later seminar at which I was attacked, that's a different one. An earlier one on MOOCs, on online education. And we had experts from different parts of the world, and all of them told us the future lies in online education. The sooner that you catch up with it, the better. Your technology may not be adequate now, but 10 years from now, 20 years from now, your technology will improve. But what you need is a change in mindset. And I'm afraid all the consequences that we are facing today is a lack of change of mindset. And that is stopping us from reforming our education. Now look at the new education policy. All those things which I had recommended for Kerala at that time have found a place in the national education policy. They did not copy from me. But they were also thinking, and they have decided that education system has to change completely. And online education is one of them. Of course, I'm making a distinction between school education and university education. School education is difficult and different. I'll come to that. But at least in the university education, it was very easy for us to adopt a hybrid system. And I tried to convince our professors, vice chancellors, they will all say yes, yes. And then I produced a report called IT in Colleges. A number of great experts were brought to Trivandrum, and we prepared a report and even made a recommendation that every college should be given 12 lakhs of rupees, not a big amount at that time, to equip themselves for online education. Can you believe that not a single vice chancellor, a single professor welcomed it? They all said yes, yes, but nobody wanted to change the system. You're having a good time, so why change it? If you are driving a car and is driving properly, then why change the tire? So wait till the tire bursts. And when the tire bursts, you are not ready for what you are doing. So this is what has happened. What I had envisaged was Not that we'll close down buildings and so on. Because Americans are already talking like that we can close down university buildings. There is no need for it. But what I was suggesting was a hybrid system. Not because we are on pressure to move from offline education to online education, but because our education for our modern life, for our younger generation, will not be complete without interaction with foreign universities and foreign professors. We are going to be the largest country with the youngest number of people. And they are the ones who are going to take on the responsibilities of running the world 10 years from now. But if they are still educated with a 19th century mindset and a 20th century syllabus and trying to find jobs for the 21st century youngsters, we are in a fool's paradise. This we did not realize. Look at my report. I've written a book on what I try to do. If only people had made a beginning at that time, we would not have been in the kind of situation that we are today. Because it was very well known that we had to supplement the education of our teachers with online courses. As teacher of physics, I have great respect for all teachers. My parents were both teachers. But as teacher of physics, who teaches physics in the university, learned her or physics 30 years ago. And there is no such physics available in any other university. You can't send him or her back to the university to learn more. So simple thing was for the teacher to discover various MOOCs courses wherever it's available and recommend to the children, and the university give them credit for what they do in terms of online education. So we missed the bus completely, and now we are thrown into the water most unexpectedly. I did not know, nobody knew that this would happen. But if only we were willing to change our mindset on the education system, we would have been better off. Anyway, that's now over. So now what we need to do is to double up our resources. To do this, because we have no choice. I'm teaching a group of students, preparing a group of students for civil service. And we are completely moved online. And I don't see any great disadvantage. Believe me. The students have the connectivity. They listen very carefully. Timings are perfect. Nobody comes late. Nobody can extend the class. And they absorb things very well. We can demonstrate things on the whiteboard. We can send them notes. We can talk to them. In fact, I find that it is much better than classroom education. There is no distraction, very focused studies. But of course, it is true that the human touch is important. You need to talk to them. You need to get to know them. That's different. We are losing that. And hopefully we'll get that back. But even if everything gets back to normal, the new situation is going to be a hybrid system of education right from childhood. And that is essential. And in a way, the pandemic has pushed us into the water and we have to swim. So let me come to the problems. Everybody mentions problems. Lack of connectivity, right? How about lack of electricity? Connectivity comes after you have electricity. There are many homes, though we say that we have given electricity to everybody. There are many homes in Kerala. Of course, if you take the rest of India, even more homes have no power. And even if you have power, it fails. Of course, last few years we have not had any power cut, etc. But still, it fails. When the most, interesting point of your talk, it goes, and then so that's the problem. So you cannot. You have to have technical capability. You have to make investments in that. And that cannot be seen as an excuse or as a problem against online education. Anyway, let us talk about the disadvantages. The disadvantages are many, particularly in the junior classes, because the children have no idea where these lessons come from. They are just images or shadows, and they don't relate to them. And quality is poor. The parents have no ability to guide them. All because we did not prepare our population for this. Certainly this year they are doing better than last year. The chaos is less. The politicians are conscious of giving them facilities. 20 years ago, the government Department of Education, Education started what is called an IT at schools program. And computers were given to the schools. What did they do? They kept them on the principal's table and put a plastic cover over it and put a flower pot on top of it. That was computerization. They never opened it. You know why? They thought that if I open it and something goes wrong, their pension will be stopped. One principal told me, I asked her, are you using your computer? He said, sir, I have only 3 months more to go for retirement. And if I touch this computer and something goes wrong, they will stop my pension. I said, ma'am, I'm going to stop your pension from now because you already spoiled it. If 2 years you have not opened your computer, there is nothing in it except some insects, nothing in that computer anymore. So that is the kind of mindset we have. So it is not that we were not want. It was not that money was not allocated, but we were not willing to take the bull by the horn, as we say. What is the reason for it? Now also, if you ask any teacher, they will mourn the old days. Oh my God, I used to hug my children and whisper in their ears. I used to cry with them and enjoy with them and eat with them, and it's all gone. It is not gone. You will have it back once the pandemic goes. But please, for God's sake, don't give up online education altogether. We'll be doing a great injustice to our children if suddenly when the pandemic goes away and your distancing and masking, etc., are over, still maintain your lifeline online, which means a tremendous amount of psychological change among the teachers and the students. Even today, the most senior teachers, you talk to them, very wise men, they know all about the world, but they still say, no, online education, my God, that will ruin us. So the only way forward is online education with all its disadvantages. And therefore, we should start looking at the advantages. Today, for example, this webinar, let us say, suppose I was supposed to address all of you in a hall. How much trouble you would have had organizing the mic and the chairs and the and the desks and food and my travel and everything. It would have cost you $1 million, at least $1 million rupees. Here, nothing is free. I'm sitting in my room, in my own home, and I'm addressing you. Which other way could we have done that? So mind you, there will be no seminars, only webinars in the future, because we have discovered that this is a very fruitful exercise. I have a weekly program in which I speak to hundreds of people all around the world. And people all around the world, however experienced and however even Nobel Prize winners, are ready to participate because they don't lose time. Time is most important for them. I may give them a ticket to come to Trivandrum, but that doesn't attract them. But what attracts them is the fact that today he can interact with a community without his having to move out of wherever he is. So look at that. And we must develop it and we must never give it up. Secondly, the same point that I made earlier, our education, our teachers have to change from lecturers. We have changed their name. You know, I used to be called a lecturer, which means you go to the class, say whatever you want and you leave. That was the system. But now we have been called professors, etc., which means a certain involvement. But if you do not have that involvement, it is a disadvantage. No question about it. You remain strangers with your students. But if you have the opportunity, at least when the lockdown is lifted, even for short periods of time, we must get them over to the school or the college and interact with them. But remember that the most important thing during the pandemic is survival. There is no greater success than survival. Because if you don't survive, what is the use of your having any knowledge or information or a happy life? You will not be there to see it. So, paramount importance being security, survival, we must embrace online education as an inevitable but a blessing in disguise. And once we have this mindset changed, then all these problems will disappear. The governments will find money, the equipment will be provided. It's already happening, but I don't think it will happen this year fully, maybe by next year. So remove this hope that this will all end and these computers will have to be thrown away. No, the system has changed. We are in a new norm, as it is called. So accept the new norm and work hard for it, to acquire technology, acquire teacher's experience. So the teacher, you can teach whatever she learned 30 years ago, but she must find out what is the latest physics that you have in the MOOCs courses. Find it. Just tell the student, you do this course from Harvard University. Take a certificate free of cost, no money to be paid to anybody. And we will give you credit for that in your degree. That's a simple formula. But at the school level, of course, we have to work harder. It will take a little more time. But I have seen countries where the online education has become a practice, they are doing better. And do you know one other development relating to online education? Now, today, people say that you must reverse the system. What do? We go to school or college and listen to the teachers. Okay. And then the teacher gives you homework and you go home and struggle with it. What the teacher said and the homework may not be related to each other, or you may not be able to see the relationship. So what do? You struggle yourself, you trouble your father or mother or sister or brother or neighbor to do your homework. And the teacher is happy you produce the homework the next morning, but you haven't learned anything. So reverse it. Do what you do in class today at home. That means the teacher can record her lectures and give to the students in advance. So they go home, and if you have a 1 hour lecture, listen to it 3 times. The teacher will never repeat her lecture 3 times, will they? So you listen to that 3 times and come to the class and do your homework with the help of the teacher. So this is what has happened in many American schools. And that has completely transformed. Where it was 60% results, now gone to 90% in the new system. Again, I tried. So people said, oh no, we have no recording machine, we have nothing. So nobody said. And let me tell you also one experience of mine. I said, why don't we connect the colleges? Why do we have different professors in different colleges? The same professor, some colleges may have good professors, bad students. Some colleges may have good students, but bad professors. And why doesn't the university identify the good professors and let them lecture to 5 colleges? It can be easily connected. And mind you, I managed to do that. I found the money and connected 6 colleges in Kochi, because most colleges here were not willing to do that. And I had lectures delivered from my room. in the Higher Education Council to all these 5 colleges. They're all very happy. But it lasted only for 3 days. Why? Because somebody started a rumor that this is a trick they are playing to dismiss teachers. Teachers will lose their jobs if this happens. And it was very simple. Somebody went and pulled the wire. Finished. The system collapsed. We lost the money. And we lost the opportunity. So there are no ready answers or solutions to this. You have to do it the hard way. And the sooner we get accustomed to it and solve these problems, the better. There is no point in sitting and mourning that the world is changed. The world will change further. You know, there have been cartoons many years ago of human beings going around with complete mask and a dress to survive. You know, artists had anticipated that a day may come. There will be so many bacteria and germs and viruses in this world. And the human being has to put himself in a bubble. And that's become a reality. Don't we see now people walking around in bubbles? So that doesn't mean that their life ends or the world ends. So like that, we have to adjust ourselves to the new situation, hoping and praying that it will come back to the normal, but accept the new normal. That is the only advice I can, or only points I want to make here. But if anybody has any questions and if there is time, I shall be happy to answer. Thank you very much.